Welcome back, friends. I'm Burke with Shared Science in Long Beach, California, where creative kids dive into STEM fun. This is Lesson 9 of Python Bytes, where we'll continue with classes and objects and create your first library. You should have completed Lessons 0 through 8 before you continue. Still here? Great. By the end of Lesson 8, you had made your first class, or rather, you had seen your first class and created one for homework. Let's recap. If you haven't already, open your browser and pull up your code from Lesson 8. We started the last lesson by creating a very simple class. Fruits doesn't need any information passed to it, and it doesn't do very much. Add apples to the class, and it gets access to the function tart. Easy, right? Then we made a pretty big jump in complexity. The class place is much more complicated than fruits. Let's run through it again. Line 3 initializes the attributes or the characteristics of a new member of the class. Init, which is really underscore underscore init underscore underscore, is a special Python method called a constructor, and it's followed by a list of things it needs to know about each new object it creates. With me so far? Self refers to the name of the object or the member being created. When we create barn in line 14, we send each of those things attributes to be initialized. There's a place, or there's a name, an XY address, a list of things that the place contains, and a description. The class definition automatically creates variables that are part of the new object, like barn.name and barn.description. The where function takes in a location, in this case barn, and prints out details about it. On line 11, Python automatically converts location.name to barn.name and location XY address to barn XY address. Get it? Now, the process of creating a class and adding a member to it may not seem like it's worth the trouble, and it's not for one object. But imagine you have a dozen places you want to use in your program, or 20 different kinds of cars, or 100 brands of shoes. Can you see how classes can make your code much more powerful and easier to organize? Okay, let's look at your homework. You were tasked with creating a new class with at least 4 attributes, and I encouraged you to use the place class as a model. Did you do it? If so, great, good work. The easiest way to use existing code as a template is to copy it, then change it to suit your needs. I've done that with this whole program and copied it to a new replit. Now, I'm going to highlight the place class and copy it by pressing Control C, and then I'll go all the way up to the top, a couple of spaces, and then I will paste it with Control V. So now we have 2 identical copies of the class place. Let's start editing it. Let's change the class name to thing and the attributes to name, description, and cost. Getting the picture? Feel free to pause if I'm going too fast for you. Remember, you need to change the attributes in 3 places: in the definition line, then twice on each of the self dot lines. So let's go through and add. We're going to take out XY address and contains, and then we'll add to the end the cost. If you were writing a game, for instance, that would describe how much in-game currency that the item costs, the thing costs. Now, I'm going to delete these 2 because we don't need them, and here's a handy trick. You can just copy other ones and paste to get things set up, and then just edit. So we have name equals name, description equals description, and cost equals cost. Great. So we're all set, right? We've got 2 classes and a function, and we may want to add more. But that's all setup. That's all creating the world that your program lives in. Once you're happy with how it works, you probably won't need to modify it very often. So how can we get it out of the way so we can concentrate on the action? Anybody? Oh, all right. Let's make a library. First, we're going to add a new file to our REPL. right over here, next to files, there's a plus sign on the file, and we're going to call ours my underscore classes, CLA .py. It's a good idea to name all of your Python files .py unless you have a very good reason not to. Back to our main rather. We're going to highlight these two functions and press Control X to cut them. Back to my classes, Control V to add them, to copy them, paste them rather, and then back to main.py. Wow, that's a lot less messy. You can really see what's going on here. One more thing we have to do, from my classes, oops, that should be an underscore, from my classes, import star. And now, when we run this, boom, you get the same results. So we've moved all of your classes into a separate file, myclasses.py. That's a library that you include at the top of your file. You can do the same thing with functions. You can do the same thing with all sorts of things to get them out of the way so you can just deal with the flow of the program and not the definitions and the setups. Don't you think that looks a lot cleaner? If you're going to want to create 40 places, you may want to group them all in a library too. You'll get them out of the way, and it'll be easy to find them if you need to make a change. Well, that's it for Lesson 9. You've learned how to make new classes quickly by copying and pasting, and you created your first library. Cool. If you successfully created a new class for Lesson 8's homework, good job. If not, please try again using the copy and paste method I just showed you. Python will not be shy about telling you if you've missed something. Next time, we'll learn about algorithms and your next steps in becoming a Pythonista. Thanks for hanging with Shared Science. Tune in again for more creative engineering fun. You still haven't paid me back from the last time you borrowed money.